So for us, organization is the key. And really, I'm going to break it down in how I do it and how I set up what we do every single week. Um, the first thing we do is we set up about a 4 month calendar. And I'm really just going to show you the calendar from what we did actually this past spring. Um, but we set up a calendar, we get the times of practice on there, we get when they're going to do their weights, and we try to build our practices off that calendar. What time we're going, who do we have to practice around? Can we get a walkthrough in before practice? Do we have to do it after practice? So we really try to build a calendar, first things first, to try to get us just understanding when we're going to have to practice times and all that stuff. Then we start to go with situations, what we want to get covered, what we need to get covered, what we have to get covered, and then, what are kind of some bonus things that we can do to help prepare us to win. I want to try to put our football team in as many different situations as possible in practice. I want to cover everything multiple times before we get to Saturdays. So when we get put in that situation, we've had some recall. We made the national championship 2 years ago, and in the semifinal, we had to go to overtime. Well, we worked overtime in fall camp. And I think there was some recall, and it not being the first time we ever saw it, even though it was so long ago. We worked that situation in fall camp. The kids were prepared for it, and we capitalized on it and won that football game. So we try to do all those things, and I'll go through every situation that we do and how we get it together and how we organize it. Then we want our situations and our practice days to match our install sheets. So I'll have an offensive install sheet from our offense coordinator, a defensive install sheet, and usually what I'll do is sit down with them. I will sit down with them that and kind of go through each day on what we want to get covered, what the situation is, whether it's first down, third and long, first down, play second down, or third down. If we're going to go scripted, if we're going to go off the hip, are we doing goal line? What are we doing in scale? What are we doing on one-on-one periods? And we'll try to match up those install sheets with the various situations we're going to have. Once we get the situations done, I'll create a practice template sheet. And on these practice template sheets is exactly what we're going to do in practice during the periods. I'm a 10-minute period guy. I played for Coach Beamer. That's what we were at Virginia Tech. I've done 5-minute periods. I've done 10-minute periods. I'm just a fan of 10-minute periods. I think it's just ingrained in me. So that's what we do at Reinhardt. We do 10-minute periods, and we get it set up. And we don't keep every period is not 10 minutes. We set it up basically off what we're going to be doing in that period. If we don't need a full allotment of 10 minutes, we won't do it. If we need more than 10 minutes, we'll do 12-minute periods. Some periods are 6 minutes. If we're doing board drills or something like that, that would be a 5-minute period. So I'll set up those practice templates, and basically it'll be like walkthrough, flex, indie, or board drills, scale, kickoff return versus kickoff coverage, whatever, team periods, all the way through. And we'll do that for all 9 practices. And I'm going to show you guys all this stuff. So we do that. And then what we'll do is we will actually plan out practices before we even start. So I think this year for spring camp, because that's what we're in right now, we went ahead and planned out the first 5 practices, indie and everything, before we started. And that's just, just kind of get ahead of the game, understanding what we're doing. We usually try to do that between 5 and 6 practices, and then it might change based off injuries. And right now, based off COVID or anything else of that nature. I think another big thing is staff organization with special teams, individual team settings, scripts, hip. just knowing who's doing what, and making sure you're organized on a daily basis. If we have some type of special teams that day, what are we doing in that period? What does it look like? I want it organized. I don't want guys, I hate standing around at practice. I hate guys just staying on the sideline, not doing anything. If you're not involved in the special teams, you need to be doing something. So I like to put that on our practice plan so we know what guys are doing throughout the day in every single period. And then, what are we doing in Indy? What are we doing in our team settings? Is it going to be a scripted period where we're going to exchange scripts with the defense? Or are we going to go off the hip, or is it going to be a combination of those things? So just making sure everybody's on the same page. So we plan practice as a staff. We do it together as a staff. We do it every single day, usually at 11 a.m. We'll plan practice as a staff. It takes us usually somewhere between 15, 20 minutes. Everybody put everything on the board and go from there. And then we have practice duties. One thing that we do, it's usually, we use a lot of injured guys. We use a lot of managers. So help set up practice, where the equipment needs to go, what equipment is needed during what periods. Make sure those kids understand it so it can get set up efficiently and we're not waiting and just standing around. So I put a guy in charge of our music. He's kind of like the DJ for the day. He'll play music throughout the entire practice. In team periods, we don't use music because I want them focused on communication. We'll have a clock guy. He's in charge of the clock, putting the amount of time for each period on the clock. We'll have a guy that announces period changes over the intercom. So if we're going from individual to scale, he'll announce scale. This is 1st and 10. This is the situation, so on and so forth. So I think that's huge, just to keep everybody organized. Our kickers do our chains. That's who do our chains every day, are our kickers. And then we set up where the ball is going to be on the field for every single team period, every period, where the ball is going to be and what direction it's facing. So people know exactly where the ball is going to be. And we're not thinking about, okay, where are we going to put the ball down now? So those are all things that we put on our practice plans. So when we go to that staff meeting and we get into it, we have an idea. That's all put up by me before we even start. I'll lay all that out, and then they just got to fill in their Indy. And I'll show you more of that here in a minute. This is our calendar. So this is kind of how we start everything. Okay. So this is exactly what we did for spring camp. So you can tell we are on day 20. What date are we on here? January. I think I don't know what today is. I'm so lost in camp. 23rd. So we had practice this morning. It was practice number 14. We did that this morning, and we based everything off our weight schedule. So our skills are lifting in the AMs. You can see on Tuesday and Thursday afternoon and Saturday. And then our big guys lift 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So we get after it those days. And then we base practice off. Now we're having to share a field right now with lacrosse. So we're having to practice 7 p.m. on Mondays, 4 p.m. on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. And then on Thursdays, we go at 5:45 in the morning. And then on Fridays, we go at 4. It's really 4:15, not 4 o'clock. So that's kind of how we get everything set up. We start on this calendar. That's the first thing we'll put down and kind of build off what we have on this calendar.
Coaches, Rick Stewart with allaccesscoaching.com. I really hope this video helps make you a better coach. Make sure you hit the subscribe and like button down below so we can let you know when new content becomes available, because we're all about coaches helping coaches. And remember, coach, better today, never as good as tomorrow.